Good afternoon, students. Here we are going to discuss about the requirement engineering, software requirement engineering, and it's a unit 2 content which I am going to discuss about. So basically, requirement it only describes about what, not about how. Actually, we are going to discuss what is requirement engineering. It basically defines what we are going to do, instead how we are going to do it. It produces one large document which should be in the natural language, which contains the description of what the system will do, instead how the system will complete it. It's a crucial process steps. It contains the quality of product process which creates it. Without well-written document, developers do not know what to build. Fine. Customers do not know what to expect and what to validate. Fine. So the problem statement, we do the requirement engineering. The parts, the following are the mainly things which we basically discuss into the requirement engineering. First is the elicitation. Requirement analysis is before of requirement elicitation. We do the feasibility study as well. Then we do the requirement documentation. Then we do the requirement overview. It's a crucial process steps of requirement engineering. And then after this, we generate the software requirement specification document. So what is requirement engineering? If I talk about IEEE standard, requirement is basically defined as a condition or capability needed by a user to solve a problem or achieve an objective, or a condition or capability that must be met or processed by a system or system component to satisfy a contract. Fine. Standard specification or other formally imposed documents. Fine. So it may act as a contract. SRS can work as a contract between the developer and customer. Once they satisfied, then we develop the project. State of practice, requirements are difficult to uncover. Requirement change. Over-reliance on case tools, tight project schedules, communication barriers, market-driven software development, and lack of resources. Requirement engineering का एक एग्जाम्पल हम देखते हैं. अगर कोई यूनिवर्सिटी एक सॉफ्टवेयर सिस्टम को डेवलप कराना चाहती है फॉर द स्टूडेंट रिजल्ट मैनेजमेंट, फाइन, for its MTech program. So a problem statement is to be prepared for the software development company. Problem statement may give an overview of the existing system and broad expectations from the new software system. Requirements, types of requirements के बारे में बात करें. There are three types of requirements. First is known requirements, unknown requirements, and untrained requirements. Stakeholders who can involve directly or indirectly, or which can influence the system requirements, maybe users or the affected persons. So requirements we can categorize into the functional and non-functional requirements as well as interface specifications. So functional requirements basically describe what the software has to do. They are often called as the product features. Fine. Functional, it determines system will do or accomplish, is called the functional requirements, just like business logic, like data logic, data manipulation, processing logic, and decision making. So these requirements determines how the software will behave to meet the user needs. Fine. Non-functional, for the users it can be availability, reliability, usability, and flexibility, and for the developers it would be maintainability, portability, and testability. And I have taught some functional requirements to you as well. Right? The user requirements are written for the users and include functional and non-functional requirements. System requirements are derived from the user requirements. User system requirements are the parts of the software requirement and specification document. Interface specification is important for the customer. Fine. So non-functional requirements आपकी क्या होंगी? Performance, availability, maintainability, portability, reliability, robustness, security, scalability, testability, and usability. Interface specifications. Most of the software systems do not work alone and need to interact with the other system in order to work. So they interact with many other systems to receive and send the data. Get help in processing logic, store information in other system, etc. So these interaction requirement of one system with the another system is defined as the interface requirement. Fine. So which I have been discussed. Types of interface, procedural interfaces, जिनको हम कहते हैं application programming APIs, data structures and the representations of the data. Fine. Steps basically involved in the requirement engineering. Feasibility study we generally do. Is cancellation of a project a bad news? As per IBM report, 31% projects get cancelled before they are completed. 53% overrun their cost estimates by an average of 189% for every 100 projects there are 94 restarts. So how do we cancel a project with the least work? So the answer, conduct the feasible study. So type of feasibility is the technical feasibility. Is it technically feasible to provide the direct communication connectivity through space from one location of globe to the another location? Is it technically feasible to design a programming language using Sanskrit? It depends upon the non-technical issues. Feasibility study also depends upon the non-technical issues like, are the project's cost and schedules assumptions realistic? Does the business model realistic? Is there any market for the product? Purpose क्या है इसका? We are going to evaluate or analyze of the potential impact of a proposed project or the program. Focus of the feasibility study is onto the product concept. Is the product concept viable? Will it be possible to develop a product which can match the project's vision statement? What are the current estimated cost and schedule for the project? क्या क्या हो सकते हैं? Basically, it focus of the feasibility studies onto the how big is the gap between the original cost and the schedule target and current estimates. Is the business model for software justified when the current cost and schedule estimates are considered? Have the major risks to the project been identified and can they be surmounted? Is the specification complete and stable enough to support remaining development work? Have users and developers been able to agree on a detailed user interface prototype? If not, are the requirements really stable? Is the software development plan complete and adequate to support further development work? So now we are talking about the types of requirement engineering. Steps basically involved into the requirement engineering. The requirement engineering having the different steps. So first is feasibility study, which we have been discussed. Then the requirement illustration, then the requirement analysis, then specifying and validate the requirements, and then requirement management. Perhaps it is most difficult, it can be critical, it can error prone, so some communication intensive should be there. If it is succeed, then effective customer developer partnership can be managed. Fine. Selection of the method. It is the only method that we know. It is our favorite method for all situations. We can understand intuitively that the method is effective in the present circumstances. Normally, we rely on first two. So, requirement elicitation is basically the second step. The first step is the feasibility study, which being discussed by us into this lecture. So, requirement elicitation is the second step of the requirement engineering process. In this phase, the sources for all the requirements are identified, and then by using these resources, the user's need and all the possible problem statements are identified. Although it looks simple, this phase is often iterative, and at the end of each iteration, the customer needs may become clearer and new needs may be emerge. The stakeholders involved during this phase include end users, managers, developers, and test engineers, domain experts, and business analysts. Fine. It's an open-ended. Fine. So, first phase is to identify the stakeholders. So, before the requirements are gathered for a system, it is important to know the people who can contribute and help gather the requirements. If key stakeholders are not identified during the requirement elicitation phase, it can lead to non-identification of important requirement, causing rework at a later stage. Fine. So, thus the stakeholder identification is the first step in starting the requirement elicitation. Fine. So, selection of stakeholders should be at the entry level, middle level stakeholders, managers, users of the software. These are the important ones. So, types of questions क्या क्या हो सकते हैं, एग्जिस्टिंग सिस्टम के साथ क्या प्रॉब्लम चल रहा है, हम उसको कैसे आइडेंटिफाई करें, कोई कैलकुलेशन एरर्स अगर है तो पॉसिबल रीजन फॉर मेल फंक्शनिंग क्या होगा, नंबर ऑफ स्टूडेंट एनरोल्ड क्या हो सकते हैं, विच द एग्जांपल विच वी हैव बीन टेकन नाउ. फाइन. पॉसिबल बेनिफिट्स क्या होंगे, कैन इट सेटिस्फाई विद द करंट पॉलिसीज, हाउ आर यू मेंटेनिंग द रिकॉर्ड्स ऑफ द प्रीवियस स्टूडेंट्स, एनी रिक्वायरमेंट ऑफ डेटा फ्रॉम अदर सिस्टम्स if we need, any specific problems, any additional functionality we are going to add into it, and most important goal of the proposed development. So at the end we may have wide variety of expectations from the proposed software. Second, we do the brainstorming sessions. It's a grouping technique where the group of different peoples do the discussions. It basically new ideas generate करता है, creative thinking होती है, prepare long list of requirements, we can categorize, prioritized and pre-owned. ठीक है. So idea is to generate views, not to wreck them. Fine. So groups users का हो सकता है, level of managers का हो सकता है, या stakeholders का हो सकता है. A facilitator may handle group bias conflicts carefully. It may follow a published agenda. Every idea will be documented in a way that everyone can see it. Detailed report is prepared. Facilitated application specification techniques, which we say generally fast. Fast is similar to the brainstorming sessions. Team oriented approach होता है. Creation of joint team of customers and developers. The guidelines for that: arrange a meeting at a neutral site. Okay. Establish rules for the participation. Informal agenda to encourage free flow of ideas. Appoint a facilitator. Prepare definition mechanism, board, worksheets, wall stickers, etc. Fine. Participants should not criticize or debate. First session preparations क्या है? Each attendee is asked to make a list of objects that are part of the environment that surrounds the system. Produced by the system, used by the system, list of constraints क्या है, functions क्या है, performance criteria क्या होगा. So activities क्या है इसकी first की. Every participant present his or her list. Combine list of each topic, discussion, consensus list, sub teams or mini specifications if it is there, presentations of mini specifications, validations criteria, sub team to draft specification. Fine. Next, quality function deployment. It incorporates voice of the customer, basically what is the technical requirements, and then we do the documentation. Prime concern क्या है इसका? Customer satisfaction. What is important for the user? Normal requirements, expected requirements, and the existing requirements. Steps to identify the stakeholders. List out the requirements, degree of importance of each requirements. Fine. So the very important having the 5 points, important having the 4 points, and according to this we have categorized into the points. Requirement engineer may categorize like possible to achieve, should be deferred, and why. It is impossible and should be dropped from consideration. First category requirement will be implemented as per priority assigned with every requirements. Then the use case approach. Eva Jacobson and other introduced use case approach for elicitation and modeling. Use case which gives a functional view of the system, what are the system capabilities, what system is going to perform after completion. Fine. The terms use case scenario, use case diagram may be interchanged, but they are different. Use cases are the structured outline or template for the description of user requirements modeled in a structured language like English. Use case scenarios are unstructured descriptions of user requirements. UCD are graphical representations that may be decomposed into further level of abstraction. Component of use case approach like actors. So actors can be an external agent, lies outside the system model, but interacts with it in some or other way. Fine. Actor can be a person, it can be a machine, it can be information system. Cockburn distinguishes between primary and secondary actors. A primary actor is one which having a goal requiring the assistance of the system. Secondary actor is one from which system needs assistance. Use cases, it can be initiated by a user with a particular goal in mind and completed successfully when that goal is satisfied. So it describes the sequence of interactions between actor and the system necessary to deliver the services that satisfies the goal. Alternate sequences, system is treated as a black box. Fine. So thus we can say the use case captures actors which does what, interaction with the system for what purpose, without dealing with the system internal. Fine. It defines all the behavior required of the system, bounding the scope of the system. Fine. Jacobson and others proposed a template for writing use case as shown below. It's a quick background of the use cases. Actors क्या हैं? Actors are the which interact and participate in the use cases. Some preconditions which need to be satisfied for the use case to perform. Post conditions, it defines the different states in which we expect the system to be in after the use case executes. Flow of events, basic flow and the alternative flows. List the primary events that will occur when this use case is executed. Alternative flows, any subsidiary events that can occur in the use case should be separately listed. List each such event as an alternative flow. A use case can have many alternative flows as required. Special requirements, business rules should be listed for basic and information flows as special requirement in the use case narration. These rules will also be used for writing the test cases. Both success and failure scenarios should be described. Use case relationships. For complex system, it is recommended to document the relationship between the use case. Listing the relationship between use cases also provides a mechanism for traceability. The use case guidelines, we need to identify the users. We have to create a user profile for the category. Each category of users, including all roles of the users, play that are relevant to the system. We have to create a use case for each goal. Following use case template maintain the same level of abstraction throughout the use case. Steps in the higher level use cases may be treated as goals for lower level, i.e. means more detailed sub use cases. Structure the use case, review and validate the users. Use case diagrams, these are the following components which we generally use once we draw the use cases. It represents what happens when actor interacts with the system. captures functional aspect of the system. This is the symbol for actor, this is for the use case, and this is the relationship between actors and use cases and all the between the use cases. Actors appear outside the rectangle, use cases within rectangle providing the functionality. Fine. Relationship association is a solid line between actor and use cases. Use cases should not be used to capture all the details of the system. It generally specifies what the system does, what kind of functionality we are providing to the users. Okay. Only significant aspect of the required functionality. No design issues. इसमें हमें design की कोई need नहीं है. We just tell in a rectangle box, these are your actors. Fine. Here the use case. So this specify, let's suppose this is the admin part and this suppose the student part. Fine. So let's suppose admin having the rights to access these all functionalities, while student having the rights to access these functionalities only. Fine. So in this manner, we just provide what are the functionality of the system which the developers are providing to the users. So these functionalities being accessed by these actors. Fine. No design issue. इसमें हमें डिजाइन बनाने की कोई नीड नहीं होती. हम without any design, we just simplify the things what the system having the functionality. Fine. Use cases are for what the system is, not how the system will be designed. Fine. Free of design characteristic. डिजाइन की कोई कैरेक्टरिस्टिक की रिक्वायरमेंट हमें नहीं. See the example. Data entry operators having the maintain student list, maintain subject details, maintain the result details. While the administration having the right of login, result reports generate कर सकता है and view results कर सकता है. While student and teacher can access only the result. So maintain the student details, add, modify, update student details like name and address. Subject details, you can add, modify the subject information semester wise. You can maintain the result details, include entry of marks and assignment of credit points for each paper. Login, user to use to provide way to enter through user ID and password. You can generate the results report. You can view the result according to the course code and according to the roll number or the enrollment number. Login describes how a user logs into the result management system. Actors can be the data entry operator or can be the administrator or the registrar. There is nothing precondition is required to enter into the system. You must have the login ID and the password. That's it. Post condition, if the use case is successful, the actor is logged into the system. If not, the state is unchanged. If you do not have user ID and password, you cannot enter into the system. Basic flow use case starts when the actor wishes to log in the result management system. System requests that the actor enter in his or her name and password. The actor enters his or her name password. System validates name and password and it finds correct, allows the actor to log into the system. Alternate flows, invalid name and password if you enter. If it in the basic flow, the actors enters an invalid name and password, the system displays an error message. The actor can choose to either return to the beginning of the basic flow or cancel the login at the point the use case ends. There is nothing special requirement is there. Fine. Use case relations, it's none. Maintain the student details. DEO to allow DEO to maintain the student details. Actors, post conditions. If use case is successful, student information is added or updated. from the system, otherwise system state is unchanged. Basic flow when starts when DO wishes to add, modify, update, delete the student information. It's general. One of the sub-flow will execute after getting the information. If the DO selects add a student will be add, subflow will be executed. If DO selects update the student, subflow will be executed. Likewise, some more information will be added a student, like name, address, roll number, phone number, date of admission. System will generate the unique ID. Update the student information. Once you enter the student ID, system retrieves and displays the student information. Make the desired changes to the student information if you wish. After changes, system updates the student record with the changed information. Once you want to delete the student, you need to enter the student ID. The system retrieves and displays the student information. System prompts the DO to confirm the deletion of the student. DO confirm the deletions, and the system marks the student record for the deletion. Alternative flows may, if a student not found, then specified ID does not exist and displays the error message. Then DO may enter a different ID or cancel the operation. At this point, use case will be add. Update and cancelled. If in the update a student subflow, the data entry operator decides not to update the student information, update is cancelled and the basic flow is started at the beginning. Then likewise, delete cancelled. There is no special requirement. Use case relations is none. We can maintain the subject details like introduction. We can add the adding or changing or deleting the subject information from the system. Actor is DEO. Precondition, it must be logged before the use case begins. Post condition, if the use case successful हो जाता है, then we can add, update or delete from the system. Otherwise, the system state is unchanged. Fine. Basic flow general है. If you want to add, change, delete subject information from the system, request DO to specify function he or she would like to perform. Subject add करना है, update करना है या आपको subject delete करना है semester wise. Fine. Once these are all approved, DO provides the required information. The sub flows is executed. Add a subject आ जाएगा, update a subject आ जाएगा, delete a subject आ जाएगा. Then once you add the subject, name of the subject आप भर दीजिए. कौन से सब्जेक्ट कोड क्या है उस सब्जेक्ट का वो भरिए. सेमिस्टर कौन से सेमिस्टर का है और उसके कितने क्रेडिट पॉइंट्स हैं. देन यू आर एबल टू ऐड द सब्जेक्ट इनटू द सॉफ्टवेयर. सो वंस DO provides the request information, the system generates and assigns a unique subject to the subject. Subject is added to the system and system provides the new subject ID. ये likewise you can update the subject. अगर आपको ID चेंज करनी है या आपको उसका नेम चेंज करना है, आपको ID चेंज करनी है तो आप ID चेंज कर दीजिए and it displays the information. So DO makes a change and record would be updated. If you wish to delete a subject, enter the subject ID. After this, it retrieves the information, displays the information, verifies the deletions and makes the subject record for the deletions. अल्टरनेटिव फ्लो में क्या है, सब्जेक्ट अगर आपका नहीं फाउंड हो रहा है या आपका अपडेट कैंसिल हो गया है. डिलीट कैंसिलेशन, delete a subject flow. The DO decides not to delete the subject. It is cancelled and the basic flow is restarted from the beginning. There is nothing special requirement is there. Use case is none. Maintain the results details. You can maintain the result details, subject and mark information of each student. It basically include adding or deleting the subject and mark information into the system. एक्टर इसका DEO है. प्री कंडीशंस मस्ट बी लॉग्ड होना चाहिए. पोस्ट कंडीशन सक्सेसफुल हो जाएगा. मार्क्स इंफॉर्मेशन इज एडेड और डिलीटेड. अदरवाइज सिस्टम स्टेट इज अनचेंज्ड. बेसिक फ्लो आपको जैसे मैंने उसमें ऐड और डिलीट में बताया था सेम ही आपका इसमें होगा. फाइन. Add marks information includes select the subject code, student enrollment number, internal or external mark of that for that subject code and the enrollment number. Like marks code delete करना है तो ये सारी आपके पास information होगी. And then you can update the mark records. Record ID आपके पास आ जाएगी. System retrieves, displays information. My exchanges record update हो जाएगा. Compute the result once the marks are entered. Result is computed for the student. If a student is scored more than 50% in a subject, associated credit points are allotted to that student. Fine. Result is displayed with the subject code, marks and credit points. जितने आपको मिले होंगे. Record नहीं मिलेगा आपको. Delete it, cancelled. If in delete marks, do you decide not to delete marks? The delete is cancelled and basic flow is restarted to at the beginning. Right? Nothing required है. Special requirement, use case relationship none. Likewise, view and display result आप कर सकते हैं. ठीक है. इसके लिए एक्टर्स क्या है? एडमिनिस्ट्रेटर है, डायरेक्टर है, टीचर्स हैं, स्टूडेंट्स हैं. फाइन. प्री कंडीशंस नन है, पोस्ट कंडीशंस नन है. बेसिक फ्लो. Use case begins when student, teacher or any other person wish to view the results. Two ways हैं, या तो आप एनरोलमेंट नंबर डालिए या आप कोर्स का कोड डालिए. जब आप कोर्स कोड डालेंगे तो सब्जेक्ट फ्लो इज एग्जीक्यूटेड. अगर आप एनरोलमेंट नंबर डालते हैं तो सब्जेक्ट फ्लो एग्जीक्यूटेड. व्यू रिजल्ट्स और एनरोलमेंट नंबर वाइज. यूजर नीड टू एंटर द एनरोलमेंट नंबर. सिस्टम रिट्रीव्स मार्क्स फॉर ऑल सब्जेक्ट विद द क्रेडिट पॉइंट. रिजल्ट डिस्प्ले हो जाएगा. अल्टरनेटिव फ्लो रिकॉर्ड नहीं फाउंड होता है तो एरर मैसेज डिस्प्ले हो जाएगा. स्पेशल और यूज केस रिलेशनशिप नन है. फाइन. लाइकवाइज यू कैन जनरेट द रिपोर्ट. आप कोर्स कोड वाइज जनरेट कर सकते हैं, सेमेस्टर वाइज कर सकते हैं या एनरोलमेंट नंबर वाइज कर सकते हैं. एक्टर्स आपके डीआर है. प्री कंडीशंस मस्ट लॉग ऑन टू द सिस्टम. पोस्ट कंडीशंस अगर सक्सेसफुल हुआ डिजायर्ड रिपोर्ट इज जनरेट, अदरवाइज सिस्टम स्टेट इज अनचेंज्ड. डीआर सेलेक्ट करता है. बेसिक फ्लो में क्या आएगा? डीआर सेलेक्ट करेगा ऑप्शंस को. सिस्टम रिट्रीव द इंफॉर्मेशन, डिस्प्लेज एंड टेक्स द प्रिंट रिपोर्ट. अल्टरनेटिव फ्लोज क्या है? रिकॉर्ड अगर आपका नहीं मिलता है तो नॉट फाउंड और आपका यूज केस. सिस्टम जनरेट्स एप्रोप्रिएट मैसेज अकॉर्डिंगली. डीआर कैन सेलेक्ट अनदर ऑप्शन और कैंसिल द ऑपरेशन. एट दिस पॉइंट द यूज केस एंड्स. स्पेशल एंड यूज केस रिलेशनशिप्स नन है. फाइन. Maintain the user accounts. Use case allow the administrator to maintain the user's account. Includes है, ऐड करना है आपको या आपको कुछ चेंज करना है जो एग्जिस्टिंग अकाउंट्स हैं या आपको डिलीट करना है यूजर का अकाउंट, तो एडमिनिस्ट्रेटर कैन डू दिस. एक्टर इसका एडमिनिस्ट्रेटर है. प्री कंडीशन वही आपको लॉग इन करना पड़ेगा. ठीक है. पोस्ट कंडीशन अगर सक्सेसफुल हो जाता है तो यू कैन एंटर इनटू द सिस्टम and you can add, update or delete from the system. Otherwise the system state is unchanged. Basic flow क्या है? When use case starts, administrator wish to add, change, add or delete the information. Likewise, so once the administrator provides the requested information, one of the subflow is executed. Fine. ऐसे ही आप ऐड कर सकते हैं यूजर में, अपडेट यूजर अकाउंट कर सकते हैं, डिलीट यूजर अकाउंट कर सकते हैं. अगर अल्टरनेटिव फ्लोज में जाते हैं तो अगर नहीं फ्लो का यूजर नहीं मिलता है तो यूज केस एंड हो जाएगा. फाइन. अपडेट कैंसिल्ड हो जाएगा. अपडेट ए यूजर अकाउंट सब फ्लो. द एडमिनिस्ट्रेटर डिसाइड्स नॉट टू अपडेट द यूजर अकाउंट इंफॉर्मेशन एंड द अपडेट इज कैंसिल्ड एंड द बेसिक फ्लो इज रिस्टार्टेड एट द बिगिनिंग. डिलीट, कैंसिल, नथिंग इज रिक्वायर्ड फॉर एट द स्पेशल रिक्वायरमेंट एंड यूज केस रिलेशनशिप. We can reset the system. It use case allows the administrator to reset the system by deleting all existing information from the system. Who can do this? Only the administrator. Must be logged onto the system before the use case begins. Some basic information post conditions are there. Basic flow क्या है? System requires the administrator to confirm if he or she wants to delete all the existing information from the system. Once the administrator provides the confirmation, the system deletes all the existing information from the backend database and displays an appropriate message. Alternative flows, reset, cancelled, spatial requirements and use case relationship is none. So we analyze, refine and scrutinize requirements to make consistent and unambiguous requirements. Draw the context diagram, development prototype, model the requirements and finalize the requirements. These are the requirement analysis steps. Fine. So for the result, we were working on to the result management system. Administrator and subject information must do these all things. Marks entry operator will enter the marks. Then it generates the student performance reports, mark sheet generation, student information generation. It will generate. Fine. So we stop ourselves here. In the next lectures we will discuss अदर्स रिक्वायरमेंट इंजीनियरिंग प्रोसेस के डिफरेंट जो स्टेप्स हैं वो हम नेक्स्ट लेक्चर में डिस्कस करेंगे गाइस। थैंक यू।